What's up, gamers? It is the last week of the regular season of Challengers League here for LCS. My name is Mark Alexander Arambide. Today, I've got Matthew Cubby Samuelson and Gabby the Tigers Durden here to break down some 6 back-to-back games in the course of 3 series. But first, we've got to catch up on a couple things. First of all, Cubby, this is the first time that we've been on broadcast. Same with you, Gabby, because we're both play-by-plays most of the time, so we're always burdened with the fact that we never get to be on a broadcast together except this one time. So I'm going to be treasuring every single moment. And Gabby, if you don't mind, I really need you to help me with something today.
Ooh.
I love bullying Cubby whenever I'm on a broadcast with him. So I need you to lean extra hard into just bullying Cubby whenever we have a chance.
Wow.
Can I get you to do that?
Yeah, so Cubby, forget about all those things I said during Tech Check and stuff about being so excited casting with you for the first time since the college championship finals, you know? Forget about all of that. It doesn't matter anymore.
That's fine. You know what? Bullying's my love language, Rafa. So secretly, you know, you're just getting Gabby on my side and on everyone's side. So I appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You're in the ego Rafa uniform today. So
that's why I busted out the purple and black bomber, just to really get into character. But the thing that we need to really get into play is not just what we're talking about regarding the Challengers League, but what the rest of the community is talking about, as we pulled some tweets from some of our most loyal and awesomest fans. Rizzy, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Rizzy?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I've been going with. I haven't been yelled at for that yet, so you know.
I know she's been bullying you too about certain things, which is very based. Already +1 in my book. But Blue obviously majored in mathematics, focusing on trigonometry with his Vel'Koz gameplay. Jinkies. A little shout out to Velma there.
I gotta say, Balulu, I know that, you know, the Tigers, you might have seen the Zoe on the LCS stage that everyone else had, but he has a Vel'Koz too.
Yes.
I'm excited for him to play that in the big leagues, but it was a treat to have a second play on it yesterday, as IMT looked damn good yesterday, and we'll kick off our day with IMT on the stream.
It's been so impressive what we've seen from Balulu in both cases on the LCS and here in NACL.
And for our next community tweet comes from Stacy Marie, aka APA's mom, one of the most loyal fans of Challengers League in the chat as well. Best of luck and positive winning vibes to Team Liquid, League of Legends TLC, and always plan ahead. Arrow, Mir, Bradley, and Kim down on their last weekend of this split, and Ian's 21st birthday weekend. Oh my goodness! The man can finally go to a bar! He can finally go to a bar and celebrate properly!
It's not just that. It's actually today. So today is his birthday.
Oh, it's today!
Yeah, happy birthday, Ian. They're going to be playing on the Path to LCS stream if you want to go catch that later today. But hey, birthday would be pretty nice.
You know what? Today is also Beatdown Boulevard's birthday, who will be casting on the Path to LCS stream. So it's a double birthday whammy. So I hope that they've got a little birthday shout out prepared for both of them. And from Fear Matt, must be some pretty bad thieves if they can't steal a game from Fear. Ooh! Love the spice.
Or Fear is just good enough at being fearsome where they scare the thieves away.
Ooh, I do like that. That's good. I gotta say, respect to Maddie, because he put that up after game 1, and then they got stomped really hard in game 2. But, you know, we like some of the banner coming out.
You know, I also do respect that. It's always nice to have the trash talk before the end of a series, so that, you know, if things don't go out your way, then, you know, you take it. You take it with grace. Anyway, Manui, 1-1 versus 100 Thieves Challengers. Really into bought the second game, but think we had a good showing overall. We'll learn from these games, keep scaling, and hope to end this split strong versus CLG Challengers. GG's.
Ooh, yeah, I always love when you take that approach of learning from the matchup, but that is a match I'm actually really looking forward to, so I love seeing that call out of facing off against CLG Challengers to end the run.
Yeah, Unforgiven's been doing that to a lot of our marksmen in the league too. So no shame there, Manu. You got a game off him. Really well played. You know, each team stopped with Zyra Khan.
All right, CLG copy. I was the problem. XD. GG's the C9. Happy about how we played that series as a team. And for anyone that might be missing the context, like, what is he talking about? Well, Copy and CLG 2-0'd Cloud9. recently. And that was a big dub for Copy overall, because if you all didn't know, Copy was playing on the Cloud9 organization for the past 2 years and potentially had a chance to be called up for the LCS squad after Jensen was removed from the team, but they got MNS and Diplex, so 2 choices over Copy, and it's good to get some sweet revenge, showing like, hey, you should have trusted in me.
I gotta say, I was pretty happy for Copy. Also, the Zoe game was big, and I think that he's earned the right to chirp a little bit, as Copy's still been a very strong mid laner that we've had in the league. And as you highlighted, we'll be wrapping up our day with CLG versus Fear, a match we're both looking forward to.
Oh, yes. That's going to be such a good one, y'all. And I am also in the boat of it's nice to see Copy able to throw a little spice out there after a good performance.
Yeah, Copy definitely been a highlight player for us, but we've also been looking at a few other players for our most valuable prospect regular season award, and then we'll be covering it in this video just right now.
With the end of the regular season rapidly approaching, it's time for us to start talking about our most valuable prospect award. Remember, in order to be eligible, you need to have played at least 5 of the 7 weeks of the regular season. Additionally, the most valuable prospect is awarded to the player that we have faith will garner their team the most wins should they be promoted to LCS over the next calendar year and the year after that. However, Unforgiven is too good. It's disingenuous for us to call the LEC first All-Pro AD carry a prospect. In a developmental league, this guy is already developed. However, let's still talk about some of our other frontrunners.
Alright, let's talk about MNS. He's still leading the league in solo kills and has shown in LCS that he's ready for that level. But that's the thing, he's already playing in LCS. The most valuable prospect is first and foremost a developmental award, so we made the decision to remove MNS from consideration due to his current role in LCS for Cloud9.
To no one's surprise, Mir has made a big splash in the LCS Challengers League and is one of our frontrunners for most valuable prospect. Mir is leading all junglers in gold difference at 15, along with XP difference at 15, and is also leading junglers in first blood percentage, as half of the first bloods that TL challengers have been through a Mir kill or assist, while he's only been the victim of one once. Mir's early game presence has been phenomenal. The game plans are sound with TLC, but also Mir's mechanics at later stages of the game have proven that he can be a jungler that is even someone to be feared in a meta that is not necessarily his, looking at what he's played in the past.
Masu came out of nowhere last summer, and despite it being his first split of competitive play, he showed great mechanics and confidence. This year, he's looking even better, going toe-to-toe with some of the best marksmen we have in Challengers League, while spending the majority of the split on 100+ ping. That nickname Wi-Fi Wizard was not a joke. Since physically joining FlyQuest Challengers, he's looking better than ever, and with the growth he's shown in this short amount of time, the next few years are looking bright for him.
My MVP frontrunner for the 2023 NACL Spring Split season is none other than 100 Thieves Challengers jungler Yukino. If you need stunning plays, a brilliant mind, and that improvement mindset that will take you to the top, this is your guy. He might be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but he'll come steal your lunch money.
Who'd we miss? Let us know on Twitter with hashtag NACL.
As nicely wrapped up and covered by Joshi and a handful of our Challengers League broadcast team, we hit on 4 of them in the video. Or actually, I think we hit on Mir, Yukino, and Masu. But then a couple others, shoutouts as well to Lost, Shaden, and Young. I know, Cubby, you have been very adamant about Shaden in the past, as well as the split.
I mean, I was the one that made the Mir promo, and at the moment, I will say I think Mir is actually my personal front runner. Shaden for me is right behind. My list is actually pretty different than what the list we came up with as a team was. I think that we very much had a focus on youth, as if anyone doesn't know the criteria for the award, it's like LCS wins in 2024 count as 1 point. LCS wins in 2025 count as 2 points.
Yes.
Is kind of the way that like we think about it. So it definitely is a lot of projecting, or projecting, I should say. I think that some of our rookies have had really impressive starts, and I appreciate the fact that Masu Young and Yukino were highlighted in that. I just don't think, for me, they're in the most valuable prospect territory. Their game isn't where I want to see it yet, even though the growth is great. So that's why my list is actually pretty different than what we ended up with. I also have Prismal on my list, kind of sneaking into the back. As well, so he's been good.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I know that if we're highlighting some of our youngest players, then Sniper would also be on the top of our list as well, but we kind of shied away from it for some of the similar criteria of what Cubby was kind of thinking of. It's like, hey, next year, maybe not so much, but maybe we'll get to see how Sniper progresses later on, maybe during the summer split. I know Masu was also another big conversation where, yes, he's looking great, but we want to see where his peaks and valleys are, because right now he's just slowly improving, and we want to see some contrast as we get into the summer split. But of course, all that matters right now is the spring split, and as we are wrapping down the regular season, we have to check in with the standings. We've got 2 more days left of the regular season with Cloud9, Dignitas, and Golden Guardians all leading the pack at 1, 2, and 3 respectively here.
I think that when you are looking at who is at the top and who is at the bottom, there are some things that aren't necessarily the biggest surprise. I feel like Cloud9 Challengers, while you don't always put the emphasis on the organization themselves, you have to give credit to Cloud9 for always being a formidable threat towards the top in whatever format exists. Dignitas Challengers very much building towards that victory more than anything else with this roster and beyond. But I've really liked seeing Golden Guardians and their surge throughout the NACL thus far.
Yeah, it's definitely a team that I'm actually pretty excited about, especially given that FlyQuest is surging as well, and that's our second match of the day. But again, I think that everyone has to look at the provisional teams. Fear and Wildcard, so impressive what they've been able to accomplish, but also C9 and Dignitas showing some cracks. Of course, Tomo moving up to LCS, roster change for Dig. They've had a couple of draws. C9 got O2'd yesterday. Talking with teams, they feel like C9 is the front runner. They usually have the strongest scrims, and also they've been the strongest team on stage. But I think that things are going to go a little bit more interesting as we move towards playoffs, given how competitive the league is below them.
Yeah, I mean, CLG, probably the big turn recently, and we know that talking to others, like, man, CLG Challengers actually pretty strong in scrims, just not always showing the best results on stage. But of course, we're going to be getting into some of those matches today, as we have our 3 series. Dignitas taking on Immortals Challengers, FlyQuest Challengers against Golden Guardians Challengers, and then wrapping out the day is CLG Challengers taking on Cincinnati Fear. Mostly challenger teams against each other, with the one last challenger versus provisional roster. But I know that at the end of the day, CLG Challengers and Cincinnati Fear is probably one of the spicier matchups that we're going to be looking forward to at the end of the day.
I think that whenever you have a pairing of a challengers team versus a provisional team, that provisional team is really rocketing. That is always something to look at, because it shows that all players that compete within this league are worth evaluating for their skill and their development over time. And you get a little bit of that spice in draft and beyond sometimes with teams like Fear.
I love the fact you bring that up too, because yes, Fear is a provisional team, but they've been earning the respect of all the teams in our league with the play they've had. So I know COG definitely going to treat that match just like it's a top competitor in the league, and we're really excited to end the day with that one, as it is, I think, the strongest match we have on the day.
Yep. Well, don't worry, we've got 2 other fun matchups that we'll be getting into, starting with Dignitas Challengers taking on Immortals Challengers. And as we look through the roster, for those that have been watching the Challengers League for a while, you'll notice that if you didn't see the swap already last week, Spawn has been in, while Tomo has been moved up to the LCS roster. And in Spawn, trying to regain some confidence. And we know that now with Spawn back in the Challengers roster, he's being given an opportunity to rebuild that confidence and show a lot of the strong play from what we saw towards the tail end of summer last year.
I mean, I know that I'm with the 2 LCS casters today, so I know that you guys are familiar, as am I, with the LCS play we've seen from Spawn. It was a little disappointing. He definitely struggled in the laning phase in LCS, and that wasn't Spawn's strongest point when he was in Academy and now back in Challengers, but it was good to see a couple nice moments from him this past week, as Spawn is still someone that we feel like can grow, can develop. His laning phase, it did struggle at the highest level, but we know what this guy can bring to team fights. And hopefully, returning now to Challengers, he can build up that lane phase and get really show off in those fights the things that we know Spawn can do.
And that's why I think it is a positive to see him coming into the NACL, because as you both know, having followed his journey, this is a chance for him to shore up some of the things he needs to work on. But I also love to emphasize that early on in the career, you should not put all of the losses of Dignitas in the LCS on this player. This is someone who is still developing. It's really hard to show your strengths when the team is overall struggling. So I want to see how he makes this turnaround on a new team.
Of course. And meanwhile, that's not the only interesting thing when it comes to this specific matchup, as the 2 junglers since I guess, the dawn of their early careers, they have been beefing with each other, and we even have a fun little video that courtesy from last summer that we want to share again with you today to remind you of the rivalry between XU and Chad.
Chad wanted to like make enemies with everyone so that he would have like a personal vendetta, but I don't think Chad's that good.
I don't know, this XU guy like barely got 6 last split. He like barely didn't go to the amateur gulag. I don't know how he's barking. It's kind of crazy.
I think he's just going for like a lot of plays that like are high risk, high reward, but they're not really panning out the way they should. Like I watched his game against FlyQuest where he did the level 1 invade on Yuji and then he got pushed out and had to base and lost his whole top side. Like it looked really bad, you know.
I mean, they only have one good player on their team and it's their mid laner. After that, it like completely falls off. So if Insanity doesn't decide to like single-handedly carry the game, it's not even close. You know, their top's worse.
He has to decide.
Worse. I mean, their mid's worse too, but Insanity's just their only like even good player or even decent. You know, everyone else just, especially Exit. You know what I mean?
I would just play normal. I think if I play normal, I'll beat Chad.
You gotta love it from Chad, man.
Yeah.
He doesn't hold back.
You know, Gabby, coming from the LCS web, we've had our fair share of drama and some rivalries between Vulcan and Ayla recently, or even the Sven and Yawn little blip. But man, the XU Chad one is a strong one here in the NACL.
The way that they were pulling from specific examples of play, too, it just gives this feeling of, oh, they're sitting on these feelings. They're ready to dish it out. I love it.
And this is all, of course, this was a video from last year, but the rivalry still runs strong as we take a look at the Immortals Progressive Challengers roster. Chad has been the highlights, one of the stronger points of this roster ever since he was first brought up on his debut last year, after coming through the 100 Thieves organization in that next class of 2021. And, you know, for the most part, Cubby, I think Chad has still been kind of playing to what our expectations have been for him this split.
I think that the thing that excites me is the fact that I think the meta really suits IMT, like where it's headed, as ADD playing more tank tops, and then Joey returning to engage. I don't know if you've seen this, the Tigers. This steal from Chad is crazy. We got his POV for this one. Watch this. He's going to get Kasante ulted out. Whoop! Grab it on the way in. Oh, Chad, he still does make some of the craziest plays that we see, for better or worse. It's part of our love, sometimes hate relationship with Chad. It usually ends up in love, just determines, you know, where his team's at. And they're coming off of a really strong 2-0 yesterday, so maybe able to challenge Dig, maybe force another draw, or maybe that Dignitas' first 0-2 of the split. They've yet to have one.
Yep, Dignitas have split at least with every other team, or one straight up 2-0, and I know how much it would just fuel Chad up if he could put down XU in a straight up 2-0 this week, as Dignitas Challengers is one of our top teams. And of course, with all this teed up, we are going to get ready for our first game and our first draft of the day. So Gabby and Cubby, have fun, y'all.
See you later, Rafa. Into draft we go. Following up on that Chad point a little bit, I do want to see how he and the team adapt with the evolving meta, because while he has played consistently, we didn't get to see as much of the Chad as we do when on these aggressive picks. When he's on tanks, hasn't had as much of an opportunity. So seeing how he'll face off against XU here today.
I love this like little rivalry too, because I know that we talked to XU a few weeks back and kind of like brought it up. First off, we had XU make like a Lee Sin tier list, and he put Chad at F. And he's like, I'm gonna be honest, like I'm not even flaming. I just haven't seen this guy's Lee Sin. Like I don't really have like a ton of beef with him. It just like he started it, and so I don't know how much XU cares about it, which honestly makes us even funnier. But at the moment, Dignitas, they do care about some of the pocket picks of IMT. As Blulu Zoe, as you saw on the LCS stage, that's gonna be denied, and also the Rengar and the Vel'Koz. So maybe an Elise start, given the Rengar ban, something that Chad does like to answer into the Elise.
See Fienta bringing that through right here, because I do want to see how he decides to use that pick to facilitate someone like Balulu. I really liked what we got to see in the last games when, whether in the LCS or in NACL, they play around him. But of course, we know there are players like Joey that know how to offer that facilitation as well if given something of an engage. But past the first round of bans here, we're getting into our first lock for Dignitas Challengers.
So a couple curious bans. The Blitzcrank tells me that IMT, maybe they want to go for Felios Thresh. That was what they 1-2'd in both games on Red yesterday in their 2-0. But because of all the pocket picks that have been taken away, a lot of the meta picks are still on the table. So it's the first pick, Annie, for Dignitas, and Gragas, a champ that we've seen skyrocketing in priority. Mostly, I think, thanks to some of the changes to other champs, but also the LEC playoffs. Going to be hovered, and I got baited, as it still is that Felios Thresh coming in.
And Thresh becoming a pick that is more worthwhile as of late alongside the Aphelios. Joey always seems to prefer going towards that higher engage over enchanters when it's an option. And clearly we're getting back into that territory. Whereas Dignitas bringing out the Annie first, you still have that flexibility to go between support or mid positioning and not giving away too much intel in this early stage.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up because I would love to see Dignitas take a jungler here just to hold on to that flex. And it looks like it's going to be Xyz Lee Sin. This is, I think, his strongest champ up there with Graves. We'll see what the answer is going to be. It could be a really nice game already for Gragas, given that you have two immobile squishies in the backline, and Gragas can somewhat answer Lee Sin in the jungle. Of course, that body slam does cancel the Sonic Wave and some of the hops, and would be very flexible for IMT.
And 2 games thus far on Lee Sin, 100% win rate for XU. So nice and comfortable bringing into this matchup. But we're going a bit of a different direction than it seems you anticipated, Cubby.
Yeah, it's more the potential tank busting top side for ADD. Now, Olaf, if he's able to get in that backline against Annie Varus, those are 2 wild carries that can get ran down by the Vikings. So we'll see if that ends up being in the hands. I'm expecting ADD. Of course, Olaf, we've seen it played in jungle, I think, once or twice here in NACL. And at the moment, as Thresh is that support, it looks like IMT is actually taking away some of the engage options for Dignitas as Nautilus is going to be removed. And we'll see if Dignitas maybe set up for Annie mid or support. We might be able to tell with some of the bans here.
IMT want to be the only ones with a hook, so they get rid of all these other hook champs. But that is a good point that you make there, Cubby, with being wary of the Varus and the Annie and how they can get locked down later. So how IMT decide to capitalize upon that, because Varus offering a lot of lockdown himself, a lot of that poke, but still very immobile and vulnerable when targeted. And Dignitas, even though they brought out this Olaf here and didn't bring out the Gragas, still seeing it as a ban because you can bring that in multiple directions.
Yeah, I like the fact that, you bring up attacking the squishies too, because yesterday we saw Chad play Jarvan in one of the games into both Annie and Varus. Really good. It's actually going to eat a ban here. I was going to say that, like, the Cataclysm actually kind of doesn't have the best synergy with Olaf because he doesn't like the terrain. He's going to take Ghost. He can't really get around it. So I'm curious that Dignitas actually banned that. And now I'm very curious to see, do they take mid and maybe threaten that Olaf flex we don't expect? Or do they go for jungle and save counter pick for Balulu?
Chad does like Viego. I love when Viego comes through. I was looking in the animation. I was thinking it was locked in, but I guess not. Never mind the Grace. Well, either way, still in the same category of a jungler that Chad can carry with if set up. It's another one of those threats that becomes available to the team, and Thresh and Olaf having that protective capability. So IMT offering that, and Dignitas here ready to answer.
Hoon's Gnar, I remember talking with Dig. They're like, yeah, we're just seeing a bunch of Gnar bans, like 1 through 3. We really don't know why. I was like, yeah, that's because Hoon's really good at Gnar.
Undefeated so far.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know why Gnar's getting banned away from me, man. I just want to play it. So he gets this chance here. I will say, I don't love the matchup into Olaf, as Olaf can really chase down the Gnar, and you can actually beat him when he's in mini. But Hoon's a very good Gnar player, and if you're able to get in the backline and mess around with Aphelios, Thresh, Graves, it's going to feel really good. As, one more hook left on the table. It's going to be the Bone Skewer for Diamond.
Bringing that through. So IMT can only ban so far down the hook pool and starting to lock up their last pick. But I had a thought with the Gnar. Did Dignitas only go for top laners this year that love Gnar? Ooh, we get the Veigar. We got one yesterday in one of the matchups.
Oh my. I was going to say with Immortals, like, when you take Graves in Olaf, like, your front line's not that great. You're kind of missing crowd control. Well, Veigar fixes a lot of that. God, his E, that's like one of the most OP abilities we have in the entire game. So I think the plan now for IMT is to use the cage to just try and peel, buy time, and make sure that, Gnar, Lee Sin, Pyke, these are all champs that do have to go in. If they can buy space, Annie and Varus, if they aren't able to always follow up, could be good, could prevent Dignitas from just all-winning a rather squishy comp from IMT.
So with the comps locked in, then which one are you favoring?
Ooh, it's interesting. I think that Dignitas, for me, they have a lot of early game. Like, a lot of it's going to come down, though, to Pyke level 1 and making sure that they actually do utilize the Pyke to get a lead bot. If they are able to do that, they can attack with Lee Sin plus Annie.
Ooh, and I think that chat seems to be agreeing with you a bit there, too. 67% in Dignitas' favor. A cluster of Dig players rotating over towards this top side, see if they catch anyone out.
30 seconds
No dice. It is worth noting that Spawn with the Halo Blades, we'll see if that's actually going to be the poke Varus, or if it's going to be the on-hit Varus, as either way, it is very lane focused with double Halo Blades bot lanes. So Dignitas, a lot of their strategies have been through bot. We've seen a lot of like double marksman plus Elise, and it's a very risky strategy, but Dignitas has been able to execute that rather well here in Challengers, and I'm going to expect to see something similar to that again in this game with Lee Sin working bot, and maybe an early roam out of Insanity.
All right. See who roams early, see who unlocks from their lanes, but here right at the start, no crazy shenanigans, no one getting caught out just yet, and I think that I am with you in really wanting to watch how Diamond on this Pyke stands up, not just in this moment, but beyond. IMT showing face, though.
That. I actually don't know if Dig saw that. As they snuck into the brush, maybe he caught it.
I was wondering if he saw maybe both get aggroed on the exit, but it was hard to tell.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be able to tell now as IMT, they're running bot. I don't think they know. Chad's, yeah, they're going to wrap around. Here we go.
They're a bit worried. Diamond maintaining that bush positioning, coming on forward. Joey goes for the flay. A flash out by Spawn, but taking a decent amount of damage. Luckily, close enough proximity to the turret for safety. Do have to use the flash for Spawn, though.
And what a start from Immortals. Like, we spent the early game talking about, hey, can they utilize Pyke level 1? This is a really strong lane with double Halo Blades. And IMT, because of the opener, they stuck Chad in to take the red, and they really set Dignitas' bot lane behind. That's really big for Immortals.
Yeah, it's one thing to get a lane ahead. It's another when you are going against a lane that wants to do exactly that based on their draft. So now Dignitas' bot lane has to play a bit more safely compared to how they wanted to approach this lane, especially with XU's positioning and pathing down towards that direction previously.
And now XU, he's relegated to just try and impact bot. Diamond does have level 2.
Hook connect onto Diamond, who doesn't manage to make too much of a lock onto Joey. A missed Q from Spawn. So XU still here presently, but in the end, nothing to be had of it.
And Chad's just feasting in the jungle. He's going to be up at camp now. You can see XU, he's going to be spotted as he tries to wrap around. Just no dice here for the side of Dignitas. And even if XU finds Chad here, he's down buffs, so Chad went out, and wow, what a start and opener from Immortals. As, okay, we might have another skirmish as these guys posture over the bot crab.
Both of the junglers here at the ready. Let's see, putting the body first. So Diamond is just doing exactly what you want to see with Pyke, to being that threat from the bush. And because of that, IMT also just having some difficulty moving forward. But they weren't the ones that were needing that play to work. That was just a rotation after Chad was getting his clear. XU, on the other hand, as you pointed out, getting put behind alongside that bot lane.
Yeah, and now he misses out on that crab, and Chad's going to just go for the double crab. As bot or top lane, you can see ADD actually has the shove into Hoon's Nar. So really great start here for Chad. Oh, hold on.
Insanity Balulu marked fairly low, and this is the lock that we are talking about, to try and make sure even when you need some escape to keep the rest of them at bay. Into the smoke screen, Insanity loses a decent amount of HP, but the 2v2 now with both flashes expelled for the mid laners, and no flash also for XU.
I don't want to call that like a desperation play, but you can see the Dignitas are already somewhat reaching, right? You're going on to a Vigar who has the cage up. So, you can only go so far. I think it just kind of speaks to, what the game plan was for Dignitas and how Immortals were really able to break that and catch them off guard with that level 1.
So With the way that things are going for Immortals right now, getting these slight leads, even though there hasn't been a lot of chaos in terms of kills, it's all these attempts to do so, getting these summoners. What do you want to see from Dignitas to try to offset that and maybe get some aggression on their own side, as Hoon is facing some aggression from ADD, try to hold on to that flash as long as possible. ADD is popping the... Oh, no! First blood here to Hoon. Okay, so Cubby, maybe that's something that can happen for Dignitas to start getting a little bit of fire for themselves.
You know, that's actually exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, you know, miss Narhop onto Olaf so, you know, you don't bounce away and then bait him into the turret, right? That's a great start here for
Precisely.
All right. Well, that's one point of strength for Dig. For me, I think it's just trying to revisit bot. Joey doesn't have flash. Maybe you can punish. It's not like you're up huge in this lane, but it is still punishable with the pike. So I think that still is going to be the game plan for Dignitas. But I love the pathing from Chad, right? He can go Wolves Gromp and then match Lee Sin bot. So I think Chad, not only was it a good opener for the game plan, but also he's going to be beating Xu to bot now, just given where he's at on the map and how many camps he's cleared.
Very much clearly cutting into a strategy that Dignitas wants to make happen to facilitate that bot lane. But nonetheless, Xu will need to find those opportunities to even things out, which is why he's farming up in that lane. The bot lane for Immortals get unlocked. Now waiting, try to get the hook on to Diamond. Cannot connect, but you like the threat that you see them posing with this rotation, especially considering that we are past 6 minutes here, 6:20. And you want to see these supports like Thresh making those movements.
And Immortals using some of that strength they have in the bot lane to start off this dragon. This is spotted, though, by Dignitas. We'll see where Insanity goes. He's kind of going to be the engage here. He does have level 6. See if he can land a big tippers. He's actually hidden right now.
Oh, finally has that stun up from the passive. A bump on forward of Chad, who goes down. Elimination of a 1-for-1 with the junglers no longer here. Both of the teams peel off of the dragon. Immortals, though, a little bit dicey for Joey, but a blast cone for some separation of tippers.
That's some of the strength of Annie early. I mean, that is one of the big differentials right now and where the strength of each team lies. Vigar, you want time to scale. Annie wants to fight now, and Insanity was kind of spotted on a ward, but still he was able to sneak in on a control ward over the blast cone. It's a nice fight setup for Dignitas, and they at least do trade a 1-for-1.
Yeah, and especially when you think about who was traded in that 1-for-1, that does impact how you can follow up on the objective. So now that dragon will still be available. More control wards had been thrown down from Dignitas because of their collapsing of that, whereas previously they didn't really have any vision afforded for them, which also allows Spawn and Diamond to push up in their lane a little bit here and get that wave shoved.
It is going to be that poke Ferris build. I like it a lot. We did talk about how Immortal's a little bit squishier. Will struggle with DPS for Olaf, but at the moment, hold on. IMTC, they're spotted. They don't know they're spotted.
Diamond over the wall, goes for lock onto Chad. Ooh. Chad just brought right on back before he has to flash into the blue pit. And Bolulu on the Vigar knows that they can just keep going on and poking away to poke Dignitas out of this riverside.
It still is a win for IMT. That flash from Chad, I think important the fact that he was able to escape potential Annie follow-up. And at the moment, Insanity doesn't have tippers available, so I think that's going to be enough to push Dignitas off, and will be that first dragon going over to IMT. But because Dignitas were able to delay it, Hoon's up in top lane. Maybe they can actually find a Herald. Xu might want 6 before that, though.
Yeah, being a bit tempered in their approach right now because of how Immortals were able to handle that last objective take. So first dragon, no Rift Herald play just yet. Xu waiting to see if they want to get some kind of lock onto Bolulu. Just got enough XP to hit that level 6. But Joey on the opposite side would make that a bit difficult, even with a numbers advantage.
Insanity's just going to base. I mean, he's even CS right now with Vigar as Bolulu. Another curious pick from him, actually netting a lead for Immortals. And I believe they saw Annie base, so Immortals can sprint towards this Herald and know they can contest ADD. He's dropping the wave top to walk.
Diamond getting one hook, but a blast of damage in response. Bolulu flashing forward aggressively. Hoon coming down from lane, and Joey as well. So Xu has been completely pushed off of the Rift Herald until he comes back on through. Hoon going to get the stun up onto one, blast into the wall, but have a nice passage with the lantern to get on out, and ADD taken down.
It's still a full rotate, though, from Dignitas, and not only do Immortals walk out with the Herald, I think they're fine losing ADD for that, plus plates onto Wixie, who did not move. He's up on the Aphelios. He is going to be able to get one plate for himself at least. Insanity's going to rotate, but still Immortals, they're the ones coming out on top of the map plays when they have the comp that scales.
Yes, because even though the gold is somewhat even and Dignitas are getting a few of these picks, you do have to think about that extended value of them as we take a look back at the Rift Herald play.
Yeah, Balulu, I love how aggressive Balulu is sometimes. He knows, like, when he has it just flashing in onto Xu, it at least forces Lee Sin out so they secure the Herald. A lot was used. ADD, of course, popping the ult. Just fall victim to Dignitas as Hoon splits the fight, but I love the aggression still from Balulu, who even on a champ like Vigar is able to find good moments to flash in.
Yeah, there's nice boldness that comes with a play like that, and when rewarded feels really good, as is the case for Immortals, to grab that Rift Herald now into the pocket of Chad wherever he decides to throw that down, because still in plated territory here as we approach 11 minutes. Another chance to try and get the gold heavier and heavier in the pockets of players like Wixie, who had previously gotten that bot plate, and Immortals building nicely into their threats. Chad, though, in his own jungle, might run into a little bit of trouble as Diamond and Xu wait for the play. Chad did not know what was coming. Eliminated at the hand of Xu.
Good setup here from Dignitas. Xu dropped a lot of camps for that. You can see how far up Chad is, but they find him at the end of his full clear. And importantly, not only do they get Chad, but they also force Wixie off the wave. So Wixie pretty accelerated in this game, given the plate. Also, he already has that Bloodthirster completed. I think it's important that they at least make an effort to set this Aphelios behind, because his DPS later will be what really gives Dignitas a headache, and is one of the big reasons why Immortals in their comp will be stronger moving forward.
And we have seen how effective going for something like the Bloodthirster first can be for a lot of the ADCs, making that adjustment within the season. And what a brutal way to get that kill. I saw Rafa mentioning in Discord the tier list that we were talking about earlier, and how, asking Xu if it was Graves on the tier list, where would Chad be? And still putting him in D tier. So it feels like there's a little bit of that additional layer of just heat when you see a kill like that in Chad's jungle.
Oh, Xu's got to live up to it. It still is Immortals up at the moment, but finding Chad's going to be good. And Dignitas, honestly, props to them. Like, after that terrible level 1, they still have been able to actually find some kills. They're up 1k gold. I know it's Rift and the first Dragon over to Immortals. They're going to feel really good about that coming out of this early game. But Dignitas, they really have to hit their stride now. I think that, Insanity's 11 is going to be really big for them. So I at least credit Dig for, even on the back foot after early, or how the early game went, I should say, able to find something.
And there's still angles, even if they do feel a bit more difficult to pull off than others, that you can take to try and get the victory. Perhaps Hoon on this Gnar, when impacting the fight, can end up making a heavy impact. That won't happen now, though, with no teleport available. Teleport executed by ADD just to get back to lane, but so much clustering over on this bot side with 25 seconds to go until that dragon spawns.
Yeah, I feel like that is another saving grace right now for the side of Dignitas, where Hoon's at in this matchup, as we said Dignitas, they were surprised they were drawing Gnar bans. No, there is a reason for it. I feel like Hoon might have been being honest, even if these guys have kind of trained him to kind of talk smack this split. It's yeah, this team, they've been turning Hoon to the dark side, the Tigress.
I think that Dig is just the biggest Gnar fan. They bring Armut into the LCS. They have Hoon here in the NACL. And I'm like, man, someone over there just wants all the Gnars in the world. So I dig it. I dig it, Dig.
And instead of collecting all the Gnar skins, they're just collecting all the Gnar players.
Yeah, they're saying it's cost efficient. See, look, Armut, you already own all the skins. Joey owning the end of a hook right there, though, but does get the flash out of diamonds in response. Doesn't look like...
It was a nice cancel on the dash there. Actually netted the flash, but it will be a reset from IMT, as I think this is a dragon they could fight for, but there's also no need. You still have Vigar scaling. Why not just give it away?
And just say, there you go. You can have this one. We already cut into the stacking by taking the first one for ourselves. Nice work of Dig to hover around and put some pressure on Immortals that wanted to just kind of go for that very standard game plan. All right, we got the first. Let's go for the next. It looks like they might actually want to disrupt this, though. Chad and Joey have to be wary of Insanity with Stun and Tibbers at the ready. Going on forward. Get a nice lock onto Xu, who is ignited, blasted. Chad with the follow-up. So now Immortals keep contesting in this fight. See if they can find some damage onto Spawn. Wixie throwing out the ultimate, the stun up with the Ryzen. Insanity eliminated. Diamond can't do nothing about this alongside Spawn. So Immortals do disrupt the play and do take Dragon number 2.
And they're back in control, and it's off the back of how they're playing as a team. Joey, the play to make sure that we said couldn't escape the cage from Balulu. That's what got the play started, as Vigar in these slow controlled fights, he can do so much work because of the CC, the damage he brings to the table. I just love to see Immortals working together, though. And Joey's Thresh, ever since the buffs, this is always played, and he's won with it all. Look at the play into the stun. That's really well done from Joey and IMT, and I mean, gets the jungler out of the fight immediately and makes it easy for them to win once they get the Dark Horizon back again.
I love to see a good play by a support to really kick things off for the rest of the squad. And this is something that we talked about could have been tempered. They could have given it up, but no, instead they decide to make the play. And so Cubby, I really love Thresh players, because when I was grinding to level 30, like way back, you know, and I was just learning the game, and I was playing support, and I decided it was a good idea to try and play Thresh. But imagine as somebody who barely knows anything about the game yet, trying to play Thresh. And it was one of the worst games pre-level 30 I ever had. And I was so scared off of him as a champion for a while, I didn't even play him. And I just watched people play him in the LCS and, you know, there wasn't Academy or Challengers yet, but the amateur side. And I was like, oh man, it's so cool because you can do so much with it. Now I have overcome my fear in past years, but I always remember that a bit when I look at players that have put in the work on picks like Thresh to really make him shine.
My champ was like new Aurelia, because I loved old Aurelia, and when they reworked it, I took like 20-30 games of just feeding I had to pick it up. It was a mental thing. New Aurelia is hard.
It's hard when you have to learn the expectations. I thought the box worked like Vigar's E. So when I first played, like when I was first trying to figure it out, so I tried to throw it down in a fight, and my team went, "What are you doing? You're not even there." I was like, "I don't know. I thought it was gonna go over there." I have since learned.
I remember when you used to be able to, the box was like ranged. You used to be able to move it around a little bit, actually. Old Thresh, it did actually kind of look, it was like a mini range.
That's what I was operating on, and then it didn't do that. And I was okay. So. But here we are. You live and you learn, and now he's one of my favorite champs to play. So,
I gotta say, Dignitas, they might have to do some mourning after this game 1 too, because they're in the hole. You can see they're down 1.5 k gold. They're really looking for a play here.
Trying to find it. Xu attempting with the engage, but Joey wanted to disengage, couldn't quite find it. Lots of damage blasted onto multiple members of Dignitas, though, and thus punished for it. A trade of support for jungler. ADD still in the pursuit, though. Insanity, your shield can only do so much. Blast cone over the wall. Luckily, doesn't get hit by one axe and manages to throw the stun back. So ADD has to leave this place.
Honestly, Dignitas still trying to find trades. They want to fight now, so even taking away some of the tools they did, worth it. Like, they got Balulu's flash. That's something they can now punish. So I like the fact that Dignitas, they are trying to force. As I don't think things get better for them as time moves on. So I appreciate that they're looking now, but it really does speak to the lead that Immortals has. And it's going to be really tough. I mean, you're playing behind in the Vigar as... Take a second look. Nice kick from Xu as he uses Chad as a little bit of a bowling ball there. And end up knocking down the pin and Joey, but it was not for free.
Nope, not free at all. And the damage follow-up here from Immortals able to do a bit of punching. Hoon now back into live, getting some good damage done onto this top turret. Balulu trying to match a little bit, but yeah, Dignitas not in the gold lead anymore, as they were able to maintain a little bit in the earlier stages. Dragons in the favor of Immortals. turrets tied up and a Rift Herald for each. So even though at moments it's felt like one team has had definitive control, it's still somewhat within the grasp of either. We just do have to think about, as you've noted, Cubby, the tools in the kits of both of these teams as we extend later into the game.
Yeah, also one of those tools being removed, XU flashed over the wall. So I don't know if that was spotted by IMT or not, but XU is down a flash as we approach this next dragon. They should use the Herald on, I'd say, okay, it's going to be this wave. Going to try and use this to get some pressure into River. Would be a big dragon for Dignitas just to deny some of the stacking, but again, Immortals, they don't even have to fight.
And 19 seconds on the dragon. Good time to throw down the Rift Herald to pressure here across mid. Joey seeing if he could connect with the death sentence, but cannot. A good charge for Dignitas. It's not enough to finish anything off, but at least getting some usage of Shelby here. Hoon wants to go for the whack onto Wixie, who takes the lantern out of it. So much damage, even after throwing down the Moonlight. And still getting the jungler again in XU, trading the bot laner for that pick off. Another sling on in. Insanity goes down. Double kill before ADD falls. 3 standing for Dignitas. And the same here for IMT. They trade in numbers, but who is going to get the benefit when it comes to setting up for next?
I gotta say, what an ult from Spawn. It caught Wixie as he was taking the lantern back, and that's why Dignitas were able to split the fight from behind, as now Dig trying to buy time to get their jungler back. And Sanity does have that empowered TP up in 10 when he does respawn.
And there's still a few seconds to go before that comes through. You can see one to teleport coming down towards bot side as Hoon makes his way into the river. Diamond has to be careful with Joey sitting here and Pixel. IMT trying to see how they want to approach this next fight, because you see ADD coming down from base and did not have enough numbers to really push into Dignitas, who are trying to take control of this river.
And Dignitas, they aren't really starting the objective yet. I think they're kind of hoping that maybe they bait IMT into another fight, as they have some low cooldown ultimates that are coming back up. But not going to be the case. IMT stay disciplined, and just to trade a little bit of handshake of gold. And Dignitas do close that gold lead just a bit.
And cutting into that soul point potential. So 2 dragons for IMT. First one picked up here for Dignitas. And all right, now we'll get an opportunity to chillax a little bit. That was kind of some extended action around that dragon, considering that it all began with the Rift Herald being dropped down mid, which was still about 20 seconds prior to the spawn time, and collectively following up on that aggression to get the warding advantage over towards River before taking this.
You see this still moving forward. I know that you know, this is likely going to be the last, or one of the last weeks we see Balulu and NACL. IMT, they are in the process of trying out different mid laners for Proving Grounds. But before we send him off, you know, to you guys up at LCS, this guy is so aggressive. Like, even when he sometimes doesn't need to be, but it's why I love him as a player, because he is always trying to go forward and make plays. And a lot of times it has gotten IMT some of their wins they have on the board.
I'm always the big advocate for moving on forward, because it's so much easier to pull back than to really pull that aggression out of someone. So, Balolo, keep it up as you continue to compete and refine those skills. Nice pickup from the TCL coming here into our leagues.
Yeah, I know that IMT, especially with Parth at the helm, you know, he loves his TCL players, with Fleshy and Balulu coming over. Get to see Balulu continue to try and do great things on the LCS stage. But at the moment, trying to do some good things here on the Vigar, as it's might be a newer player in NA, but he's busting out the Season 1 matchup here as Chad.
Dig, we're waiting. They're trying to find it onto Chad. Could not get the escape. So he goes down. Dignitas, they feel good about getting that pick. They're starting to rain in a little damage onto this Baron, see what kind of plays they can pull from IMT. Over 25 seconds until Chad spawns. Immortals want to get some kind of vision around this, deciding if they can contest. ADD trying to poke out with his Qs. Dignitas, they don't actually want to stick onto this Baron. They're seeing if they can pick somebody, like one hook onto ADD, a stun up. Cage thrown down from Immortals.
I think they do want to stick the Baron. I mean, Smite's down. They're behind in the game. It's getting a little frisky here, but no. IMT, they do force them out. They win the game of chicken, and now Dignitas, they have the head for the hills.
And IMT really matching the aggressive rotation of Dignitas over towards that Baron off of that kill of Chad. And now Hoon has Insanity here near on by, one away from getting that stun up, but the turret is going to be done for. Has to immediately throw out the stun on one just to try to delay. Hoon going in and hopping all about, but has to flash out as well. Ragnarok pop for ADD. Taking one down. That's 2 eliminated for Dignitas. Gonna get the throw back onto ADD, but the kick away almost keeps him alive until he dies. Diamond finds Chad coming from the riverside. Blast Cone can't blast you out of that range. Another kill for IMT.
And Immortals, they not only went out in the game of chicken, but also they cut Dignitas off as they got to the mid lane. Dig, again, they kind of have to force. They kind of have to fight now. Things don't get better for them. IMT take him down. Dignitas.
XU wants to go for the hero play, but they have Balulu and Joey on the back of the Baron pit to not let any jungler come on in. So Immortals, they secure the Baron.
Hard to play into that Event Horizon. I love how it's called Event Horizon when like all I see is like that
I don't
spell.
understand. Yeah.
It just stops events.
Yeah.
It stops things from happening. As at the moment, IMT, they're the ones making everything happen on the Rift. Hoon, again, he tries to go for the play onto Wixie, but it's a 2v4. Insanity at this point. I mean, it's a really nice stun, but they had to walk around to follow up. Diamond couldn't prep a hook. He gets one tapped by the Vigar ult, and then Insanity's just stuck.
And it's all because Immortals didn't say it's just enough to get them off of the Baron. They followed up even towards this Dragon side. And because Chad had come up and come through that river, there is no more cut off for Diamond in the jungle. So Immortals, right from the start, they've had some really good plays. Balulu pops the watch.
They gotta push.
Lantern thrown for the immediate exit. Aggressive attempt onto XU, but was just out of range. The stun follow-up onto Hoon, and now you don't have Gnar in the way you need him for Dignitas to really put some distance between the members of your team that need to poke. So Immortals, just keep pressing that forward button.
I mean, Dignitas, again, things don't get better for them. They're really trying to try and find any 2v2s they can with Annie Lee Sin. That's still one fight that they could win if they find skirmishes with those two. But Immortals just staying stacked. They were able to find Hoon in the back half. Took a lot of spells away from Dignitas as well. Insanity now down flash. That's something that Immortals can look to target as IMT. It is a free dragon if they want it, but at the moment they have Baron. They're trying to take some turrets first.
See how much they can push these lanes into Dignitas as long as they're wearing purple and picking up the soul point that they had previously missed out on by Chad here. So I like what we're seeing from Immortals from the start. Yeah. Making sure that Dig had a disadvantage in the lane they wanted to play through of that bot lane and capitalizing through and through until we get to this moment. 27.5 minutes. Immortals knocking onto this tier 2 turret door. Can't quite get it yet, but it just shows the way they're controlling this map.
And like this Aphelios Thresh for Immortals, they played it all 3 games this week. It's been so good for them. Like the way that Joey's just been able to dictate the pace of the game and the map, very different than having him on Enchantresses. And it's a welcome sight to see for Immortals as they have really looked like a different team with this Aphelios Thresh bot lane, and just the fact that Joey can now, you know, play engage and actually control the map a little bit instead of just trying to empower Wixie.
And then on the other side, where if we're looking at Joey to be able to make those plays around the map, and we're looking at Diamond to do the same, he's just running out of targets on which he can be the most effective. So with IMT and their positioning along these lanes, a little bit of care you got to take. But that's exactly that. See, Balulu was able to get saved by the Lantern. Some follow-up onto Wixie. The next to be targeted throws out the Moonlight Vigil so they can actually finish off Hoon and XU. Immortals, while on the brink for multiple members, turn this back. Following up Spawn, the dawn of death for ADD. The response from Dignitas, they pick up the even trade and kills in Spawn. Staying alive, making a difference here. Seeing if they can pick off Joey. A nice Q, fully hit. Off of the golden he goes. Elimination. Balulu, though, wants to get the cleanup, throwing out the Zoe emote at that. Spawn slowing down. The Hail Blades.
It's getting goofy.
Balulu, yeah, he's he's trying to anticipate which way the spawn was going to go. It becomes a little bit of that like hide and seek. Oh, did you try to juke this way? Did you try to juke that way?
I mean, he just popped Yomu's and gave him the do-si-do. A little ring around the rosy. A little bit of help from the Cloud Soul there. I think he's got a little silly in that fight. But Dignitas, they saved the inhibitor. And we saw a really nice play from Exiu as it was a chunk on the Balulu. That's all Dignitas needed to actually find the fight. And Exiu found a pretty sweet kick flash onto Wixie as, again, Insanity finds Balulu caught out a little bit. They take a lot of his health. And Dignitas like, all right, that's probably the best look we get for this game. So it was the hop, or the Q into the ward hop, into the kick flash. And it's a great start for IMT, but props to Diamond here on the back half on this Pyke. He's the reason they make this happen. And Wixie's emote spamming, and then Diamond's like, nope, none of that. I'm going to find Olaf and find the Aphelios.
That's why Pyke can be so potent when you're in these fights and you just get everyone on the opposition chunked down, because you can really slam and string through those ultimates together, and then it got a little goofy.
Yeah, Diamond trying to do his best impression of Fleshy's Pyke, as his Pyke's been it's really good. I know we haven't quite seen that one on the LCS stage yet, to the level that we've seen it in CQ. Yeah, I am as well. He is very good at that champion.
Just a fun pick. It's very satisfying too to play when you can string the ultimates together, but Immortals don't have a Pyke on their side. They got some other tools available to them though, and you could see even though there was such a really great engage on Wixie, very well played by XU and the team, there are still a lot Immortals were able to do in response. So if you're not landing everything exactly as is in the way Dignitas did there, Immortals just have so many ways that they can really collapse in these fights, and the shielding afforded through the Bloodthirster as well, working out for Wixie. Just big threats.
Yeah, Gale Force going to help him a little bit more, maybe dodge out on some of these arrows that have been pretty big from spawn. That is the one thing with IMT's comp. Like, it's a lot of range and kiting back. It is not a lot of threat on this poke Varus, and Spawn did really good work in that last fight and is yet to go down. So any chance that Dignitas has in this game, Spawn's going to have to continue to position really well, as the chances... We kind of talked about, you know, going a little bit less than that as this game goes forward, given the champions that Dignitas has, and Immortals looks like they're just going to ignore the Baron and take control of the bot side, try not the soul.
Yeah, ADD's making his way through the jungle, seeing what they can clear out here. Immortals with the gold lead, the multiple dragons in their favor as well. So with a bit over 30 seconds until that dragon spawns, this is something that Dignitas have to be very careful of what that soul threat can do. Immortals starting to be at the center of the circle formed by Dignitas, who are hoping they can collapse upon them, but the wrap here through Riverside, Insanity expelling his stun onto one. The Event Horizon throw down as the Blast Cone puts Immortals right into the faces of Dignitas, who maybe weren't expecting it just yet. Insanity taking a lot of pressure from ADD and eventually eliminated XU right into the jungle side. Balulu gets the last hit. The follow-up for the double from ADD. The chase down has been real good from Immortals when they find the opening to do so.
And for Dignitas, they just don't have enough damage to deal with the Olaf. So AD, he just runs right through them in the back half.
Coasting, boasting of what he can do onto this Dignitas squad. But Diamond, remember what happened with Diamond during the last fight. See if he can pull off some of the same feat here. Spawn getting a lot onto Chad, but the turrets are down, and down goes Dignitas. Immortals with the victory.
And Immortals for them, that's now a 3-0 week, as they are the ones that have to play all 3 games this week. And also Dignitas continue to slide. Of course, their last 4 series now, they have been draws. So dropping game 1, we will see if they can actually make this one a draw and not suffer their first 0-2 of the split.
Yeah, I'm ready to see it. Dignitas and Immortals wanting to set the best tone before they get into that playoffs mentality. We're going to take a moment to kick it to a break, but on the other side, we will continue with our matchup between Dig and IMT.